Hello and welcome to today's webinar. We will be starting very soon. The webinar will run for approximately 1 hour. You will be able to submit your questions at any time via the questions panel in GoToWebinar. It's worth mentioning that I will be doing a demo going through some of the features of CCH OneClick that I think will really enhance and help the collaboration and relationship that you have with your customers. This is really topical at the moment because obviously we are all trying to find ways of engaging and relating to people and work in new ways. Some people will already be familiar with working and using some digital tools. For other people, this will be new. So hopefully some of the things that I show will bring a little bit of thoughts and new ways of interacting with your clients. So I will be doing this demo. I will be taking questions at the end. Again, please post questions during my demo and I will be covering them at the end. If for any reason I run out of time, not to worry, I will answer your questions and circulate them afterwards. So your questions will be answered. Like I said, this webinar is being recorded. We will be sharing this recording with you afterwards if you need to drop out at any point or if you want to just watch it again. Now, what we're covering is CCH OneClick and how you can use it for secure online collaboration with your clients. As I mentioned, very topical point right now. We need to look for ways that we can work with customers remotely. We also do want to focus on that element of security. This is extremely important for us here at Wolters Kluwer. I want to cover specifically some features that we have coming up, which will be enhancing the way that you can operate more securely on an online system. And I hope that you really are interested in what we have to offer, because I know that we spend quite a lot of time working on it. Probably worth mentioning a little bit of who I am. My name is Natasha Kobrak, and I am the lead product manager for cloud applications here at Wolters Kluwer. I've worked at Wolters Kluwer for, it'll be 5 years in June, and I have over 16 years experience in product management. So I am showing my age a little bit with that statement, but I have predominantly been working with B2B enterprise applications, covering aspects such as file sharing and collaboration for enterprise solutions. So very relevant to some of the items that we're covering today. And here are the items that I want to look at. So I mentioned security, and that will be looked at through our new multi-factor authentication system that I want to spend a little bit of time on. Mobile app access, that's something that we get asked a lot of questions on, what our mobile strategy is and what we can offer for that. So I do want to touch on that. And also I want to look at data collection and also the document approval process and collaboration, which covers some of my online tools, which are the data collection, messages and documents areas. Some of you will be familiar with that. For others, hopefully we will have something new to show you. So without much further ado, I'm going to go into the demo portion of this webinar. And as with everything, I will be starting with CCH Central, because so many of us spend our time on CCH Central day in, day out. It really is a bread and butter for a lot of practices. And that is where our flows will be starting as well, because we recognise that that integration between our online tools and CCH Central is really paramount to make sure you get the best value out of it. So what I want to start off with is talking a little bit more about our new authentication system, talking a little bit more about security. Our new authentication system, or AAA as we call it internally, it's more of a project name, but a lot of people will be familiar with us using that term. This authentication system is something that has been in place actually for 1.5 years now. We have a number of practices using it. We have a lot of our larger firms actually using it because they obviously have very secure processes in house, and they need that extra level of security which multi-factor authentication covers. And this is really what our authentication system offers. It's multi-factor activation, being able to use a secondary level of validation when you go in, when you're on board, when you log into the system. It's extremely important. And in fact, if we look at the advent of GDPR, it was recommended at that point that any software that does cater for very personal data should really be used with secondary level authentication, because it really enhances the security of people accessing it. So we do have it live. Like I said, a number of practices using it already. As of mid-May, possibly mid to end May, we will be releasing a feature that will mean that this will now be the default authentication system for all new practices coming onto OneClick. So if you are a practice that doesn't have OneClick, then this will be the authentication system that you will be given when you join. If you already have OneClick and you're not using this already, not to worry. We will have a period of about 9 to 12 months where we'll be working with practices to move them on to the new authentication system, which will require a very small migration. Now, we really think that you will like this. We will encourage people to take this on as soon as possible, but we want to work with people to make sure that we're doing this to their timescales. And after that, it will be something that is mandatory for all practices going forward. So let's show how the actual activation and onboarding process works with this new authentication system. So what I'm going to do is I am going to let's choose someone that hasn't yet been activated for OneClick. You can see here those that have been activated. Let's go with Cassandra Sandsmark as someone that we will activate now to use CCH OneClick. I'm going to go ahead and press. Let's not choose this person. Make sure that we're using one person, and let's go and activate her. And let's add a couple of features. Okay. And I'm going to press OK. Now, anyone who has used, who is using CCH OneClick and the current authentication system that we have, you will notice that this process is very similar. Again, starting from central, you just go ahead, you tick the people that you want and you activate them. If you want to activate multiple people, you can go ahead and do that by just ticking anyone you want and pressing activate. So that process is exactly the same. And what happens is that your user is now going to get an email address. Okay, let's actually remind myself what her email address was. C. Sandsmark, okie doke. We've chosen someone with a slightly simpler name, but never mind. Okay, and what has happened now is that she has now received an activation email into her email account. This email here is exactly the same as the ones that for those using the OneClick activation system, the current activation system. So you'll see the similarities there if you're using it. But when I click this link, that's when it starts getting different. If we go through the link now, what you're going to see here is you're going to see an activation page that has her details pulled from Central. She won't have to overtype anything. The email is set. She won't be able to change that. All she has to do is go ahead and enter a secure password. Okay, and I'm going to mention at this point here that you can see a Wolters Kluwer logo at the top. Now, this is actually the logo that I'm using for my practice. When you use this, you will have your own practice logo, and that is what will appear in here. It's fully branded to your practice. And I just have to enter the information in here so I can prove that I am not a robot. Brilliant. So I've gone through that. Now taking me to screen, which allow me to configure my multi-factor authentication. We will have practices that have multi-factor authentication as optional for their users. So employees or clients can choose to either use it or not. We do have that option. However, we encourage people to make multi-factor authentication mandatory for their users because that is more secure. And ultimately, as a business, we will likely be moving on to mandatory being the required standards for practices going forward. So we would encourage people from the offset to make multi-factor authentication mandatory, as we will likely be enforcing that in the future. If we go ahead and configure multi-factor authentication, it takes me here to 3 options. So users can choose to either receive a code when they log in by email. They can choose to receive a code by SMS or text message, or they can choose to use an authentication application. Now, you can see here the various levels of security in these options. Receiving a code by email is actually the least secure of all the options available. SMS, slightly more secure, and the authentication app is the most secure option, and it is the one that we recommend going forward. To use this, you would basically have to download an authentication app onto your phone. So you can either use a Wolters Kluwer one or Microsoft or Google one. Some of you may be well versed in using these already. Once you've done that, you just scan a barcode, which will basically link up this website to your app. And every time you log in, you will get a code popping up on your phone that you can use in order to log in. It's really, really simple. Otherwise, if you use an email, you can get a code through here. But the problem with emails and text messages, you do require on receiving the email in the first place. And if it gets stuck in spam, if it gets stuck behind a firewall, that will break that flow of logging in. And that's another reason that we really recommend that authentication app. However, having said all of that, I am actually going to choose an email as my authentication method of choice, because it's actually a lot easier for me to do a demo showing you that code arriving by email. So if I go ahead and configure that now, okay, and again, I probably need to find an easier name in order to do this, but never mind. Okay, and now I've received an authentication code. So if I go back into email and just check for new mails, you can see here an email's just come in with an authentication code to use. If I just copy that and pop it in here, that's my secondary level of validation that I've done there. What we have here are some recovery codes, and that's just very standard for these to be issued when you are using a multi-factor authentication system. If for some reason you lose access to your secondary level authentication application, so your emails or your text, you can use a recovery code in order to be able to get into your account. Obviously, it's very, very important for you to save these securely somewhere. It's highly unlikely you would ever need to probably use them, but it is important to have, and they would need to be saved somewhere secure. If I press next, it will take me to an option here, which will allow me to choose if I want to use this authentication code for just the application I'm logging into, which is CCH OneClick, or if I want to use multi-factor authentication for every Wolters Kluwer product I use. And this is really only relevant for those customers using Twinfield or Basecone, which are all other Wolters Kluwer products that will use this software. And it would then force a multi-factor authentication across all of those products. But in this case, we're just using the OneClick one, so we'll keep it here. And I'll press finish. And that's it. So that's basically the onboarding process done and multi-factor authentication set up. And that takes your client into their CCH OneClick workspace. And you can see here all the different elements. You've got the messages and documents. You've got digital data requests. You have got the ability for them to be able to submit VAT returns through here. And you've also got something which those of you who are familiar with this product will see that it's new, which is your login preferences. If I click into here, you will see the ability for you to go ahead and change your password in here, and also the ability for you to customize that multi-factor authentication method of choice in here if you feel that you'd like to move to a different method. So that's something that's worth mentioning. We did get feedback that people wanted a clearer way of resetting passwords. And also, you have here a client area, which will show you every member of the client team that deals with your account. So assuming that they have been chosen to be shown, you'll be able to see the partner, the practice manager, etc. And if you have uploaded an image, you'll be able to put a face to a name through there. So that is how the new authentication system works. That's how the onboarding process works if you were to use this. Now, if we go back into CCH Central, and let's look at the digital data requests or data collection tools that we have available. Because really what's very interesting about CCH OneClick, and I mentioned, always coming back into Central, is that integration. It's that integration between that on-premise product that you're working day in, day out, and being able to marry that up with all the benefits of online technology. So data collection really lends itself to that. How would you go about sending a data collection? A data collection is essentially a digital information request. So just like the information request you send every April, where you're getting information back from your clients around what it is that they've had this tax year that needs to be fed into their tax return, all of that is done and automated through the data collection application. And all you'd really need to do to get this started is, again, back in the Find Client screen, tick any client. They have to already be activated to use CCH OneClick. And you just go ahead and you press Data Request. And what that does is it pulls the information from the client's previous tax year. So they do need to have had a previous tax return done in Central. It will pull those sources of income from the previous tax year, and it will use that as a template for the information that we need to gather for this new tax year that we're working on. So every client that you activate, if you activate in bulk, each client will see something different because it will be based entirely on their own circumstances and their own tax return that the system has on file. So once that's done, the client will receive a notification to say that there's been a data request sent to them, and they can then log back into their workspace in order to see it. So I'm going to exit this now. Let's go into one that we sent earlier. Here we go. So now I've logged in as the client Clark Kent, who has received a digital data request already. And if I log into the digital data request area there, you'll be able to see the information that is required of him. You can see several tax years here. So you've got 2019, 2020, and 2018, 2019. Let's go into 2018, 2019. And you can see in here information that is being requested of him, again, based on his previous tax year. So you can see here a number of employment income information, land and property stuff in here, UK interest, some of which will have come from HMRC. You can see here that this bit of information has actually come from the digital tax account in HMRC. And really all the client would have to do at this point is review the information that he's been sent and confirm it. So that's all you'd have to do at this point, because he can't actually change the information in there. He needs, if he wants to change it, he would have to change it back at the source. And if he has anything new that he'd like to add in, he can then go ahead and add it into any other sections that aren't digital tax accounts that haven't been set by the digital tax account. For example, let's look at the land and property one here. Here you can add information on any rental income that you've received, any expenses from property. This one's quite intricate, it's got lots of forms to fill in. And you can enter the information from there because it's not being set by the digital tax account, it's being requested by the user. And an example like this with land and property, it's very likely that the client might want to submit some supporting documentation as well to coincide with the information that he's sending through the information request. To do that, you can go to attachments and you can upload an attachment in there, and that will also be included when the advisor reviews this information on their side. Once that's done and all that information has been complete, and you can see here that I actually entered this information earlier in here, some information, the advisor in turn will then be able to go and see it on their side. So let's log into as the advisor now. So I am logging in as Anna Copeland, who is the partner for this particular client. Password in. Okay. I've got a few practices associated with this because this is a demo account, but otherwise they would log straight in to their particular practice, which in this case is DC Comics. We used to use Marvel as our demo environment, but we sort of ran out of Marvel superheroes. So we've moved on to DC Comics. And this is Anna's own CCH OneClick workspace. You can see there's a lot more information in here. There's information, there is the standard stuff that clients have as well, like messages and documents and digital data review, which is the data collection area. But you've also got things like bookkeeping applications. You have the Making Tax Digital area, which will allow you to do all things Making Tax Digital. You've got open integration, which will allow you to link your clients up to their bookkeeping system of choice and pull down that transactional data. So you can see it all in one place in CCH OneClick. So it really is very comprehensive, the advisor workspace. Now, again, we are looking at data collection at this point in time. So let's click into Anna's data collection area. And you can see in here a list of clients that have sent back, that she's sent information requests to and have sent data back. And you can, what's very interesting here is that you can see the statuses that each particular client is in. And it's interesting because anyone who's familiar with data collection might have seen this before. This is something that we've worked on over the past month, following feedback that we've had from practices who have been using data collection. What it allows you to see here is it allows you to see if a client has viewed the data collection but not submitted any information. Client updated will show you if a client has submitted some information but not all. Client completed will show you if a client has submitted all of their information, and this one's really key because that's when you come in as an advisor. And advisor approved is when you have basically looked at this information and you have processed it. And what does processing mean? If we open up the one that we were working on before, Clark Kent's digital information request, and if we just open up some of the areas that we've looked at previously, it's got the information that came from HMRC. There's employment bits here. It's got this bit here, which has been submitted by the client, and that land and property information that I mentioned before, which if you wanted to expand, you could see the breakdown in there. So as an advisor, I can go ahead and I can review all that information, see the stuff that's come from the digital tax account, see the stuff that has come from the client themselves, and I can choose to mark these as approved if I'm happy with it, or incomplete if I feel the client needs to submit more data. And when I am happy with this, and I think, yep, I can use this and I can push this into my personal, the client's personal tax return, all that needs to be done is the advisor can tick the boxes that they want to use, and they can press send tax return. And that pushes that information all the way down into CCH Central, meaning that you don't need to key the numbers in. You don't have to worry about miskeying information, which is very common. It will go straight down into personal tax return. And again, it's that integration with the on-premise system that people are using day in, day out, and the online tools that will bring so much benefit to the day-to-day. So that will basically have submitted information down to personal tax return without you really having to do that manual effort. And it's probably worth mentioning actually at this point that data collection has been around for a couple of years. We have a number of practices that have been using it. It has been free up to date. It will be free again this year, so for the 2019 to 2020. For April 2020, it will be free. And that is because we really want to get lots more feedback on the product, even though we've had a lot of feedback and we've been working it to date. But also we feel that it's a product that will really help users at this point in time. In the situation that we're in, a lot of practices will be needing these kind of tools in order to work with their customers and get data more seamlessly back, because they don't have that face-to-face contact anymore. So we feel this is an incentive for practices to come and use a product, see if they like that method of working. As of April 2021, this product will then be chargeable for that particular tax year. Okay. So that is the data collection area. And what I think I will show briefly now, we've spoken about data collection, we spoke a little bit about the information that comes from the digital tax account. We do have another area where you can see this, which is in that Making Tax Digital section that I mentioned earlier, which really holds all things Making Tax Digital that the government have been working on. If we go back into our client here, Clark Kent, and again, we open up that 2018-2019 tax year. You can see here that this section here will show you all the information that comes from this particular client's digital tax account in HMRC. It's all available in here as well as in the information request. So if you haven't sent an information request and you just want to see their DTA information, it is available in here. And what's really nice about this area is that you can actually contrast it against the information that you already hold for that client in CCH Central, because all that information is shown here on the right-hand side. So you can actually decide, does this information marry up? If not, do I need to make some adjustments? Do I need to push the information that HMRC have given me from the digital tax account? Do I need to push it down into Central? Is there discrepancy there? And if so, all you need to do is select the areas, or select all of the areas if you want in one go, that you want to use from the digital tax account. And again, send it to tax return. So just press a button and it'll push it down to the tax return that lives in CCH Central on your on-premise system. So again, marrying up the two areas here, the on-premise area that you use on a day-to-day basis, and all those great online tools that you have, to avoid all that keying in. So that is the digital tax account area. Again, really interesting, especially if you're not going to use a data collection tool, you still have access to the digital tax account information in here. And let's go back into CCH Central, because once you've got all that information in there, and you've got it in your tax return, you've reviewed the tax return and you're happy with that, what happens then? You will want to go ahead and send this tax return for your client to review themselves and to approve it. And again, you can do that really easily using our online tools. All you have to do is click on the tax return bundle, which will compile the tax return and all the documents that you need within it. And you can go ahead and press publish to OneClick. And what that does at this point is it creates a message that you will be sending to your client with tax return attached. So no need for you to download it, pop it on an email, anything like that. It's going to go straight from the system into your client's account. And what's really good about that is that there is no concerns of you attaching this to an email and sending it to the wrong person with extremely confidential information. You know that it's going to go to that particular client, so it's going straight from their record in Central. And I am going to go ahead and enter some information in here. review and approve. And I'm sure you'd write something a lot more verbose than that. Okay, so once that's done, you can choose to embellish it a little bit with different fonts. If you do choose another font, that font will be retained in future. So if you have a corporate font that you like using, like Calibri or something like that, you can choose that. When you come back to it going forward, that will be the default one available. So it will retain that setting, something that, again, practice have fed back to us and we've actioned on. You can do a little bit of formatting here if you want. There is that option there. I've kept it brief for this particular demo. And you've got here the attached tax return. What I want to do at this point is I want to set this tax return to be approved by this particular client. I want this client to review it and I want them to approve it. And they're going to be able to do that within their OneClick workspace. So I've set it for approval and I'm going to press OK. And I'm going to send, and what that's going to do is it's going to send that message and the tax return attached to it straight to the client for them to be able to review. So now what we want to do is we are going to go to the client's CCH OneClick workspace. Okay. And go into their messages and documents area. So as far as the client's concerned, they're just in that one CCH OneClick workspace. Everything they need is available there. The information that they need to submit to their source of income is in there. Then the tax return, the draft tax return is available for them to approve. It's all in this one area. You can see a big flag here saying document to approve, and that's really an eye-catching symbol there, that there is something that they need to do. And if you go in as a client into the messages area, that's where they're going to see the history of their communications. And here is the message that I sent. And if I click onto this, I can see the content of the message and I can also see that attachment. I'm going to go ahead and tick and I'm going to press approve. And it's worth mentioning that we have a facility that will force your clients to open the document before they approve it. Some clients might just approve it without having read it. We do have the option for you to force a client to open it before they're allowed to approve it. I haven't enabled it for this demo, just being a bit lazy, but that is something that a lot of practices like using. So you've gone ahead and as a client, you have approved that document, and that has been sent back to the practice, and that's kind of closed that loop of interaction in order to complete that client's tax return. What I thought I'd mention while I'm here is I will talk a little bit about mobile access. That is something that we've had a lot of people ask us about. What are we doing in terms of our mobile strategy? So a lot of you will know that we have some native applications out there. We have Practice Mobile and we have a data collection application for clients. Now, these native applications were built a while back, and they were built on technology which we're just not using nowadays, because we always like to make sure that we're using the latest and most advanced technology that there is available. So to that effect, we're probably going to be retiring very, very soon these applications. Now, we've kept it available in the Play Store and the App Store, so the practices can carry on using them if they're finding them valuable, but they will likely be removed at a point in the near future, and they are not being supported by us at the moment. Our aim is to start building our OneClick applications, the web applications, as what we call progressive web apps. And what that means is that these web applications are enhanced to work very, very well on mobile browsers and mobile devices. So if you were to access CCH OneClick on your mobile device, for starters, you will see that it is completely mobile responsive, which means it scales down to a mobile phone size. And if I just make a few changes here, you can see here, this is what it would look like if you access it on a mobile phone. It sizes itself down to be mobile phone size. And you can see there's only one application in here, and that is because we show the ones that are mobile responsive because we want to carry on that mobile flow. Any application that's available that isn't mobile responsive will be hidden because obviously you don't really want to be using those on a mobile device. But we are making sure we prioritize all applications that we feel clients and employees will get the most benefit of using on their mobile device, and making those mobile responsive. If I go into messages and documents, you'll see here again, everything scales down to the size of a mobile phone, and all the things that you wanted to do can be done through this particular area. So, so this is what we're going to, we have done. It's all mobile responsive already. If you want to log in through a mobile device, you can do that. You'll see it scales down very well. But as part of our progressive web application strategy, we are going to be able to make sure that when you log in to the particular web application, OneClick, when you navigate into messages and documents, the system will prompt you to bookmark it onto your phone. And it'll appear as a little icon on your mobile phone, and you can click onto it just like you would with any normal application, and it'll open up that particular area. So it will have that native app feel. And in addition to that, the other things we can do as well is we will be building push notifications. So you'll get notifications on your phone if you've received a message from your client, or if someone has submitted a source of income through data collection. All of that will be done as push notifications, and they will be available on your mobile device, just like a native application. And we'll even be able to have access to accessing the application, accessing data offline, because there'll be a series of caching that will be able to be done. So all of this can be done through progressive web applications. It really is the best way of being able to bring out features very quickly and ensuring that we can cater for all types of mobile devices and browsers as well. So if I just go back into normal desktop mode, that is really where we are going with our mobile strategy. So that was what it looked like for clients. If you were to log in as an employee, it will be the same thing, completely mobile responsive, and you'll see all of the areas that are mobile responsive going forward. Okay, so that was the messages area here. I'll just probably maybe end the messaging part by going into the advisors workspace. So I'm back into Anna, the partners CCH OneClick workspace, and I'll just show what the messages and documents area looks like on her side. If we go in here, we go into the messages area, you can see here a list of all of her clients that have sent her messages as well. So it's not just one client. You can see Clark Kent and Bruce Wayne has been sending messages too. And if I go into a particular message, actually let's go into this one. One thing that I think is quite interesting, we have had a lot of feedback on, is being able to see read receipts, because sometimes a client might say that they haven't seen a particular communication that you've sent out. If you are chasing them for something and you want to know if they've seen it or not, this is where this gets particularly interesting. In this particular scenario, I've sent out a message to 2 contacts within my clients. It's Bruce Wayne and his sidekick Alfred, and you can see that it's been viewed by 1 out of 2 of those people. So if I click more here, what it's going to show me is that Bruce Wayne saw it at this particular time and date, and Alfred has not seen it. So it really gives you that validation for you to know that a client has seen this message. If maybe you want to know why they haven't answered, maybe you feel like they haven't actually read it yet, that will make you give you that confidence that they have actually seen it. So again, a feature that we've had a lot of people request, a lot of feedback on, and we have actioned that. I will mention as well, the messages and documents is entirely integrated with document management. So if you use document management, you will see that any messages that have been sent will be available as PDFs in document management, and you can also push any documents that have been shared with you into document management and save them in there as well. So it's really good integration between those 2 applications. So that is the collaboration part of CCH OneClick and how you use that messaging area. Now, one thing I would like to touch on, which I think maybe not all practices are familiar with today, is I want to talk a little bit about the admin account. So those of you who have signed up to OneClick as a new practice, you will be aware that you would have had to have created an admin account at the point of signing up. And the admin account is really important because we're putting a lot of features into this area. Those of you who have migrated from CCH Portal, you potentially may not have created an admin account as it wasn't part of that flow, but you will be able to create one as well. You can create an admin account and get the benefits of using that. Some of the things that you can do in here is you can actually update, review and update payment details that you may have. We are building in the facility for you to be able to see all of the clients in there that you are being charged for, so you can consolidate your bills that you receive and see what that translates to in terms of client usage. But what we do have here, which I think I'd like to point out at this point, is our permissions area. This permissions area is very, very important because it allows you to tailor which of your employees have access to which areas within CCH OneClick. So if you want particular employees to have access to data collection, but not to messages and documents, you can choose which ones you want them to see, which tiles you want them to see when they log in. Also, if you want maybe one particular employee to be able to do VAT submissions and another one not to, you can tailor that in there as well. So if I just press the edit button, you'll see here a list of the users that have access to this. So again, this is a real, really important feature that really prompts people to use the admin area because we do have a lot of people who want to segregate their employees to work in different particular areas, and this is where that all happens. So additionally to the admin area, I thought I'd mention a couple of features. I've mentioned VAT, but we do have the ability to quarterly report on VAT. With that, we have a lot of practices using that at the moment, and it's gone down really, really well. And we actually have the ability for clients to do their own VAT submissions as well. That's something that, again, a number of practices are using. You can tailor that if you want your clients to use that or maybe not, but it's something, like I said, that a lot of practices have been using, getting a lot of good feedback on. Mail merge, that's a feature in CCH Central that a lot of people will be familiar with. Allows you to send out mass communication to your clients. We have integrated that with CCH OneClick, so if you want that communication to appear in the client's CCH OneClick workspace, you will be able to do so through mail merge. You can choose to send marketing collateral to them, or if you wanted to send the information request through mail merge and not use a digital information request data collection system that we have, you can do that. Obviously, we would like people to use data collection. And another one is the Making Tax Digital for income tax area. We obviously have the ability to do quarterly reporting for income tax. Whenever that comes into effect, we have the tools available for that. So those are some of the extra features that we also have available in CCH OneClick. Coming up, we are working on e-signatures. So we are having a pilot at the moment with a number of practices using a product called eSign within Wolters Kluwer that allows a customer to send a document for their clients to actually digitally sign. So it'll be a PDF with an area for signature. So it'll allow people to sign a set of accounts or maybe terms and conditions of engagement with the practice. That can all be done through the eSign solution. And we're looking to integrate that with messages and documents. It'll sit alongside our approval feature that I showed earlier. So clients will be able to approve a document if they want, or if they want something more formal where they actually formally sign a document, we will be integrating that with messages and documents, and they will be able to do that too. And that's likely to happen in the first half of 2021. Obviously, I mentioned all the work that we're doing with our progressive web applications, transforming our one-click web applications into fully mobile responsive, native app feeling software. That is ongoing, and that work will be coming out iteratively throughout the year. So it won't be a wait and get the full experience. We will be sending out enhancements regularly throughout the year, so people get the benefit straight away of using that. And also FinSit. FinSit is something worth mentioning too. We are integrating with our own Wolters Kluwer product FinSit, which will give you access to visual reports around basically key performance indicators that from your clients, and you can actually push that out to your clients as well so they can see how their business is doing. This feature is really, really important because it brings to light all the advisory tools that we can start offering. As we start automating the processes of the work that you do day to day, all that data inputting, all that keying in of information, as we start automating that by bringing information into CCH OneClick and allowing you to just send it down to tax return in one go, your time will likely be more spent with advisory work, and that is the kind of information we want to give. Those are the kind of the tools that we want to give you to support you in that real push to focus on advisory. And FinSit will allow people to do that. And if you are interested in hearing more about FinSit, which we will be launching very soon, you should look out for some webinars that we have around FinSit and how it can help your practice. So that brings me to the end of the demo part of this particular session, and we can now look at getting some questions. So let's look at the questions section. Okay, and let me share my screen again. Okay, excellent. So let's just have a look at some of the questions that we have received so far. Yeah, so could you confirm when data collection will be chargeable? Is it this year or next? Right. Okay. So data collection has not been chargeable for the last couple of years. It is not. We are not charging for it this year either. Again, we want people to make lots of use out of it this year. We want to get that feedback. We also want people to really be able to make use of it based on trying to just improve remote working and collaboration with customers. We will start the charging for this module in April 2021. So that's next year. That's when people will be charged if they use data collection, and that charge will be on a per client basis. Thank you. Let's just have a look at another question that we have. We do not currently use a new multi-factor authentication system. How do we get set up on it? Okay, so if you are a CCH OneClick practice already and you want to get set up on multi-factor authentication, you want to use that, you could contact your account manager, you could raise a support call, we will get in touch with you, we will walk you through that process of how to start using it. Otherwise, like I said, as of probably around June time, we will start speaking to our existing one-click practices who are not using it yet. We will slowly start contacting them, quite a few people that we will need to get through in order to schedule everyone in to move into multi-factor authentication between now and the next 9 to 12 months. So if you are interested in doing it now, feel free to contact your account manager again, or you can raise a support case. That's absolutely fine. It will get cascaded down to the appropriate people, and we can make sure that that happens. Okay, another question here. Can you explain the difference between mandatory and optional multi-factor authentication? Okay, so we do offer two options when you're moving into our new authentication system. Practices can choose to make multi-factor authentication mandatory so that all their users, employees and clients, need to set up multi-factor authentication in order to use the product. But you do also have the option to make it optional. So when a user logs in, they could choose not to ever use multi-factor authentication. So we do have that option at the moment. However, we know as a business that we are moving towards making multi-factor authentication mandatory, and there is every chance that we will need as a business to make it mandatory across all users. So if you did set it up to be optional for the users at the outset, there is a chance that in a few years there may be regulations in place which will make it mandatory. So I would seriously have people consider making it mandatory from the outset to ensure people have that consistent experience going forward. Okay, let's have a look at other questions. Can you demonstrate the requirement to read the tax return before approving it? Okay, I might not be able to do that now because I might not have time, but that's no problem at all. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set up some instructions on how to do it with some screenshots, and I'll send it out, make sure that it's included with this webinar so that everyone can see how that works. It's actually been around for quite a long time. I think actually since before I joined, so probably about 5 or 6 years now. But it's just one of those best kept secrets because we do have a lot of people who don't even know that it exists. And in fact, I think it was might have been at a roadshow that I was at where I was demonstrating it, and someone said, "Oh, you should force people to open it before proving," and actually it's it'd been in there for years but no one knew. So it's no problem. I will attach that to this email and definitely make sure that everyone has those instructions and know how to do it. Okay, so what else do we have? Any chance of getting the read receipts within Central itself? Yes, it doesn't surprise me that I've been asked that question. We like when we have features like this, we like pushing it into our online applications first. The reason for that is twofold. The first reason is because it's quicker for us to get stuff out online. Doesn't require any installs from people. We can just go ahead and deploy it, and people get that facility sooner rather than later. And the second reason is, in all honesty, we want to encourage people to use our online applications, and also we want to make sure that we are building out our online products, because obviously, the online product is our future. CCH Central will be around for years and years to come, absolutely, but the online products are our future. So we will always want to make sure that we go online first as much as is possible. However, if people are finding that they really could do with that read receipts being in Central, that it makes a big difference to how they work, we would absolutely consider this. This is not to say that we won't, build facilities like this, such as in Central. I would recommend using user voice. I do look at user voice every quarter when I plan out my releases, and anything that gets high votes will get pushed in, as long as it's obviously compliant with where we're going with the product. It will get moved into development. So please do raise that in user voice. I'll be very interested to see how many people would want to would feel passionately about having that in Central, because it's and would feel that really makes a difference to how they're working. Okay, let's have a look. What else we have? Okay, another question. So many clients had great difficulty logging in to pick up their 2019 tax returns, and it took a great deal of time hand-holding. Will the two-factor authentication stop that, do you think? So that's a good question. I think that clients logging into the system, remembering their password, etc., it's definitely been something that we get a lot of feedback on. it's probably a problem, I think, across a lot of online applications that people use, especially when you're using it once a year to log in and approve a tax return. A lot of the time when people log in that same time next year, they will forget their password. So it's definitely an issue, I think, that online software as a whole would basically have. It depends really what the issue was, and maybe we could get some more detail. I'll probably reach out to the person asking this question to get more detail on what exactly it was, because it, to some extent, it would help in that if someone is using, if that person was onboarding for the first time and was using the old authentication system, which requires them to receive a client's the client code as their activation code, I think two-factor authentication is simpler, because you get that code in your face, either on as a text message or as an email or on that authenticator app, and that is more consistent with the flow. It doesn't break the flow as much as it would if the client was simply having to use their client code and didn't know that that's what they needed. So sometimes clients might not realize when they get to that activation code bit that it's asking for the client code. They might then need to call the practice, and the practice will then need to handhold them through, and we have found that broke the client's flow of onboarding. In that case, two-factor authentication will help a lot. However, ultimately, two-factor authentication is a code in itself. So if their issue was, submitting codes as a whole, then obviously it will be a similar process. But I do think that having it being sent by email, by text message, or by the authenticator app is a lot more in keeping with the flow of them logging on to the product. So I do think it will help that, yes. Okay, other question that we have. So is the OneClick mail merge fixed now then? So good question. We did have an issue that came out actually in the last release where we found an issue with mail merge when it pushed into OneClick. We have issued a fix, which means that it is working. However, you will not be able to resort the grids in mail merge if you are using OneClick. So that's just one little thing that we put in there for the time being while we actually fix the ultimate issue. Hopefully I'm not mistaken, but I understand that resourcing the grid is not something that people do often. So hopefully people still be using OneClick. It won't interfere with your usage of mail merge, the fact that you can't resort the grid when you come to that step. But otherwise, as long as you're not resorting the grid, you won't be able to do that, but you would still be able to push the mail merge into OneClick. Okay, so right, so let's have a look at anything else that I may have. Just quick time check, 3 minutes. Okay. Right, okay, a little bit more explanation on the onboarding issues that some clients have. That's when they were trying to access their 2019 tax returns, entering incorrect password, and there are problems when a family share an email address that is not unique to them, e.g. husband and wife, and GDPR problems. This, you know what, we get asked this a lot. Can a husband and wife share an email address? We do get asked this question a lot, as long as I've been in the business, in fact. And unfortunately, it's not something that people can do right now. And I'm sort of struggling to see how we could allow that, because what we need for audit trail purposes is we need to know which user is logging in, which user is either viewing a particular document, or which viewer is approving a document. And the way we pinpoint who that unique user is by their email address. That is their username. So if a husband and a wife share an email address, and you wanted to add each of them individually into CCH to access CCH OneClick, they would need to each have their own email address, because they would be separate users and the email address is their username. So unfortunately, we've not managed to find a way of being able to retain the effective audit trails that we need and maintain the security levels that we have, and allow people to have the same email address. It has been asked from us a few times, but it is one of those caveats that we have needed to keep on in the system. Okay. Right, I think that is it. I've actually managed to get through most of my questions for the first time ever in perfect time. That is fantastic. So excellent. Well, thank you very much. I will send out instructions on how to make sure that a document is opened prior to approval, to make sure that everyone knows what that facility is going forward. And if you do have any questions or anything at all, please contact your account manager or myself. You have my email address, it's absolutely fine. And I hope that you enjoyed the session. We will be sending out a recording to everyone following this. Many thanks.